Of a group of 13 to 15-year-old girls surveyed, 225, or about 9/20ths, said they text while they watch television. How many girls were surveyed? So, as usual, anytime we've got a word problem like this, the first thing that we want to do is we want to identify our variable. The variable in this case is going to be how many girls were surveyed. And we know that's the variable because that's the question that we're being asked. How many girls were surveyed? So number of girls surveyed is the variable. And why don't we use the letter G for that variable, just because that'll remind us that it's G for girls. Okay, so G is going to be the number of girls surveyed. And so before we can figure out how many girls were surveyed, we need to write an equation. So there were 225 of them total that were surveyed, and it says that is 9/20ths of the total. So if I was going to write this in words, I would say 9/20ths of the girls surveyed is 225 of the total number surveyed. 9/20ths of that total number is 225. So let's turn this into a equation. The sentence into an equation. 9/20ths of means 9/20ths times. The girls surveyed is my variable, number of girls surveyed, so times G. And then is 225 means equals 225. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to get the G by itself. I've got 9/20ths times G, which means I want to divide both sides by 9/20ths. However, dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 20 ninths. What allows me to do this? What is the property that says it's okay to do this? Well, this is called the multiplication property of equality. And I'm going to do a pretty heavy abbreviation there. Multiplication property of equality. Okay, so this works out pretty well over on the left side because 20 over 9 times 9 over 20 is 1, which leaves me with just G. Over on the other side, it's going to be a pretty huge number in the numerator because 20 multiplied by 225 is 4,500. And then on the bottom, I've got 9. Luckily, 4,500 divided by 9 simplifies very nicely because 45 divided by 9 is 5. So it's 5 with two zeros, 500. So my answer is 500 girls were surveyed. Now let's stop and see if this answer makes sense. I surveyed 500 girls. 9 out of 20, 9/20ths of them said they text while they watch TV, and that was 225. Let's think about this for a second. 9/20ths is a little bit less than half because 10/20ths is half. So 9/20ths is a little bit less than half of them. Half of 500 is 250. So a little bit less than 250 should say they text while watching television, and the number was 225, which is a little bit less than 250. So I would say yes, my answer makes sense in the context of this problem. I expected a little bit less than half to be texting while watching TV, and 225 is a little bit less than half of the number that I came up with for my final answer.